We're going to make a very simple risotto. Everyone's got their opinion about how to make risotto. This is mine. I'm going to keep it very straightforward and simple. Just black pepper and some pecorino, parmesan. So it's more about the mythology of how you make the risotto. So we start with half olive oil and half butter. We don't want the temperature of this pan to be too hot. This is a gentle process. You also need to set aside an hour of your life to make risotto. If you don't do that and you think you're going to get all these other jobs done in between, you will end up with a substandard risotto. I'm just putting that out there. In goes diced celery, really important. In goes diced shallot, very important. So the salt goes in now. I'm trying to season the whole risotto now, rather than at the end. And that's really important to me. Then we get the salt in there now, let that do its work on the shallots and celery to bring out all the moisture, and let that happen at a very gentle rate. Now, because we want a sort of cacio e pepe feel to that, we're putting in some really nice crushed black peppercorn in there that have been pre-toasted. So they go in like that, and we're just going to sweat down that shallot, celery, garlic, peppercorn in the half olive oil and half butter. Give it time to do its thing. You'll see the shallot, celery and peppercorn, they're all now really soft, absolutely no colour in there, and they're all softened beautifully and ready for the rice. So in goes the rice. I'm just going to do 2 of those, with plenty. It swells 4 times over, so it will really, really grow. If you look inside the pan, you've got pieces of rice at the top and pieces of rice at the bottom on the bottom of the pan. That's obviously getting much more heat. If you're not moving this constantly, that piece of rice at the top there is doing absolutely nothing. The dream here is to end up with rice that's completely consistent throughout the whole risotto, all cooked all the way through, beautiful creamy risotto. So you've got to keep moving it for that reason. That risotto is going to start to crack. As it cracks, it opens slightly, which allows the stock to be sucked up into the rice and to swell the rice, and that's really important. So you just need to work this until you get that slight cracking of the rice. It sort of starts to clump together, the rice, basically where it's opening and absorbing the fat, the olive oil and the butter. But if you listen really closely, you can hear the rice starting to just crack a tiny bit. So that's now ready to absorb the first part of moisture that we want to add to that. So the first thing we're going to do is add wine. Dry white wine's fine. Not tons of it, just a nice ladle of wine. Keep the temperature consistent as well, and cook that wine right out. You don't want that acidity powering through. You need to cut the fat that goes into this. There's a lot of fat at the end, but you don't want to leave all that acidity in there. You don't want it to taste like wine, but the wine's really important to add layers. Once that's cooked out, I'm just going to cook this with water, this risotto, but it could be with any form of stock that you want to use as a vehicle. Don't let the risotto get to a point where it starts to split. You don't want that. And by that, I mean the fat comes to the surface. You don't want that. Add the water, stock, whatever it is. It needs to be hot. That's important. And it needs to go in 1 ladle at a time. Feels really laborious, but a risotto is something to stand over, connect with, feel. You know, they talk about the feeling in cooking and the emotion in cooking, and you can really connect with a risotto. What you should always see is that slightly starchy emulsion going on inside the pan. If you lose that and the butter and olive oil start to float to the surface, you've gone too far, and that's really important. So always keep this to the point where the stock's reducing quickly. That's why it's hot, and it's going down. And as soon as it's almost down, another ladle goes in. And you just keep like this for about 20 minutes, and don't stop moving the pan. Like I said, the top risotto rice is not getting any heat, the bottom's getting low, so keep moving it. So that's had a good 25 minutes. It takes a long time to do. Got to a point now where that rice is still got bite to it. It's just about cooked. Stop at that point, and this is really important. So now I'm going to take this off the stove. And this for me is where the fun part starts. No more heat required. Leave it now. Into this goes a whole raft of beautiful things. This is about now like giving it the unctuousness. You've got this beautiful rice that delivers so much comfort and pleasure. This is about now enhancing that and enriching it, just for basic risotto. This for me is half mascarpone and half cream whipped. What I don't want to see is all the risotto police coming at me. You do you, I'll do me. This is my risotto, I love it. Then we've got some butter, very generous amount of salted butter. And then we've got some really good quality Parmesan going in there as well. Plenty of that. And I just add a tiny drop of olive oil as well. And then it's got kind of a folding process now, and letting all that fat just come through. and melt into the risotto, and we give it one final taste. Not strictly cacio e pepe because it should be pecorino, but this is what it needs to look like when it goes out onto the plate. It needs to be perfectly emulsified. That's a portion. Perfectly emulsified, wet and running. It should never stand or sit or be firm or anything. And just be beautiful. Emulsification is really important. If you look in there, you'll see that perfect emulsification between the butter and the starch and the liquid stock that's gone in. That is my simple, basic risotto made with love and care. Utterly wonderful.